Hi there. You're about to watch the video of our presentation with Jennifer Milius. And I just wanted to give you the heads up that when we did the meeting, we forgot to press the record button right at the beginning, but we caught it kind of right in time. So that's going to explain why this video starts rather abruptly. However, we hope you enjoy it. See you soon.
So, do you want me to answer with the question or do you
Yeah,
want to?
I'll repeat the question. So, what are the three common mistakes editors make usually when attending events or going to events?
Absolutely. So, you did mention a quote before that, which is, "You are the catalyst for your story." And that actually was one of my favorite lines when I wrote that because it just felt so powerful. Sometimes, when you put on the writer hat, you realize like it's almost like your higher self writing. And then as an editor, I do developmental editing. So I definitely hired a line copy editor, and it was very intentional because I wanted to own my writer hat, not my editor hat. So the part about remembering who you are was remembering that space, remembering that you are the right person for the gifts and the talents. You were given them for a reason. So to me, it's incumbent upon you to share them, however you share them. So one of the mistakes is not trusting your instincts. And what I mean by that is maybe you saw some event opportunities and you got that little niggle on the inside that was like, this isn't a good idea. But hey, it might put you in front of the right people, or maybe, a little bit of FOMO was happening there, a fear of missing out. So you said yes. And then you go and then you realize this was not a good use of my time. This doesn't feel right. All these other things are coming up where the instinct was really no, to pass. Trust that instinct, even when it feels like everything about it seems really good, but you have that little niggle. Pass, just like you would pass if the editing project came through and you said, this doesn't feel like I'm the right person for it, and you would pass. Treat the event in the same context because you're spending your time, your energy there, which means you've said no to other things in order to be there. So trust your instincts. The other thing, another common mistake would be not considering what you want from the attendees post-event. So if you are going into the event and it's transactional, like think about when you go to Barnes and Noble, you buy a book and you leave. That's a transaction, right? Or you go to the grocery store, you buy your groceries, you leave. It's a transaction. But more than likely, you want your clients to work with you from almost like helping them with a transformation. They're giving you a manuscript to whatever level of editing you're doing, you are transforming it to the very next level. You're giving them the strongest manuscript you can help them do. So if you are not considering that for your attendees when you go to an event, that's something that they're missing out on from you. What do you want them to feel and do because they engaged with you? How do you want them to connect with you post-event? So things that you can do to create that connection at the event and things you can do to give them something to take with them so they know how to relate with you afterwards is definitely something. And then not presenting yourself as polished and put together. So I've been to events, a lot of events. I've ran them in my corporate world, and as an author, I have hosted over 150 book signing as an editor, speaker, all of those things I've been to a lot. And I've seen people come who look like potentially they should have been doing their like housework kind of thing, not looking like they are representing their business and showing that they have the credibility to do that. So elevating your space just a little bit, just looking like you want to be put together and paying close attention to those details. So for instance, some of the things that I do for events are, one, I make sure that if the outfit really should be pressed, I press it because that's a fine detail. But I also make sure if I'm wearing nail polish that there's no chips, or I take it off and they just look nice and clean. That's another small detail, but those small details show the attention to detail that you're placing. And especially if you're a copy and proof editor and you know, you are looking for commas, you're looking for formatting. So that's showing if you're saying, hey, this is the type of work I do, but then you don't look like you put that same work into yourself and how your table or how that space looks where you're speaking. If there's a disconnect, don't create the disconnect. Create the space of saying, what you see is how I'm going to deliver that work and even better. Those would be some of the mistakes and some little solutions, because apparently I was weaving those in. So
Yeah, I really like the concept of elevating because
thanks.
and I think too, like with post COVID and just getting so much into a very, very big comfort zone, working from home, and as editors, especially as freelance editors, we being comfortable is our main goal, I think, while we're doing work. But sometimes we forget that it just takes one thing just to elevate, put our next
Right.
step forward, elevate our work a little bit. And at the end of the day, for me, when I go to conferences, who are the people I pay attention to? Who are the people that do I pay attention to? Why do I, without knowing them, immediately respect them or believe they have something they're going to say that's going to have an impact on the work that I do? That's what I kind of gravitate to. And it does make a very big impression on, on like what you were saying, like, are we going to trust this person? Am I going to believe them right off the bat? And I really like to the concept of following through, like, what am I expecting to do? Because sometimes several of us were just at the ACES conference and we're talking to people, we're giving out our business cards, we're giving out, things. But are we really saying, let's talk in 2 or 3 weeks? Or how about a meetup? We can get together with a couple of editors. What are we expecting to do then after that follow through? For sure, I think that's important. Brittany, do you want to add anything to
Yeah.
this?
Well, I was just going to say, and we were talking about this a little bit before the meeting started, one of the things that Linda and I always emphasize is the importance of kind of finding your own, what we usually talk about is your own communication style. But I like to kind of draw a connection to what Jennifer is saying, because even in our style, how we present ourselves in live spaces or in virtual spaces, we can elevate, but still be true to ourselves. I think that our highest degree of comfort, like we really come into ourselves when we are comfortable with who we are, with like what we're wearing, what's around us. And so I would just want to say that, like, you can totally do that in your own style, even if your style is quirky, or even if your style is this or that. You don't have to try to conform to some like idea of like what is, the perfect sort of style. It's just a matter of kind of being the like the kind of truest and most like kind of you version of you, and trying to present yourself in a way that people get to know who you really are. So like if you love, I don't know, gardenias, like go ahead, wear your gardenia pin, do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like it gives people an insight into you. So it's not a matter of like self-censoring, but really giving yourself that platform to be the best you.
Yes. And so as an extension of that, let's say, for instance, you say, I'm a book nerd. I and want to own that nerd title, so to speak. Maybe you have some cute t-shirts that have something like that on that and you want to play off of that. Wear it. Just look a little bit more put together in the context of taking the time to make sure it's laying right on you, not just thrown on or what have you. Just little details that where you feel your best, that it's fitting you well, because those are types of things that you will exude the confidence. If you're wearing something that you just feel really awesome in, whatever that awesomeness is for you, it's going to come in. It's going to be like an inside out situation. And then that means that the attendees or your potential clients, your potential writers are looking at you going, I want to get to know them. I want to talk with them about what's possible, because they're picking up something from you, because you want to be there. You are excited and you've put the time and energy to be excited to be there. And in part because of how you put yourself together, the space that you were putting yourself in.
Yeah, definitely. I'm taking away from this that my adjective at home can be comfortable, but my adjective outside of the house needs to be awesomeness, or feel the
Yeah.
awesomeness in the clothes that I'm wearing when I'm out there. Yes, I like that. I love that.
And to add to that, so for instance, like right now, I have on a little dress. It's a short sleeve little dress, and I love this dress. It's super cute. It's one of my favorite dresses because I was excited to be here with you guys and I wanted to wear something I was excited about. And if I was going to go do a speaking engagement, like right after this on a stage in a physical place where you are going to sit in seats, and especially where you might have it might be hard to see depending upon that kind of speaking, you know what I'm talking about? Then I have a little jacket that I would wear that is like a royal blue type of thing that I love that jacket, that whole awesomeness feel, but it elevates this look just a little bit more and it makes it easy for you to spot me. It makes it easy for you to see me. And that will also make it easy when you're at an event and you're at a booth and there's other booths and there are other tables. But if you wear something that's a little eye-catching like that, it's like, oh, I want to go figure out, see who that is and find out more. So that's another reason why I like to do something like that, because it does draw the attention to stand out just a little bit more. And I want you to stand out because the work you're doing is amazing. You are helping people to get their message out, which means you have a message to get out too.
Definitely. So based on that, and let's move on to our next set of questions, which is, what do you think so a lot of us that are freelance editors, some of us only edit, and that's our main goal. But then sometimes we start growing out of our editing shell and we decide maybe we'll be on a panel. I feel like the progression is, from being a freelance editor, you might join a panel and talk about what you know about some specific genre, maybe that you specialize in. And then that panel might turn into maybe a little chapter presentation for your local area, editorial freelancers association chapter, or you're a writing group. And then that might escalate into maybe presenting at an online or a virtual conference. And that then might move to being on a stage like Brady and I were a few weeks ago without knowing we were going to be on a stage, which kind of surprises. So in that progression, Jennifer, what do you think what are 3 things that editors can do to improve their visibility of, what their services are, and then also to share their message of the kind of work that they're doing?
So first off, recognizing that the next big thing for you, it might look different than somebody else. So one person, it might be, I'm going on a podcast and I'm going to talk about editing. Someone else might be, to your point, it's a panel discussion, or I might teach how to develop a scene, or how to do this particular piece at another event altogether. So what looks like a big step for you might look a little different than to someone else, and that's okay. Own that and recognize that you're ready for that step. If it's speaking to you, you're definitely ready, even if you feel a little nervous. And so I would definitely say to have the clarity to remember why you started your business, why you wanted to be an editor, and why you want to serve the writers that you specifically serve. You might not serve anyone, any writer. You might say, I only serve children's book authors, or I might only do nonfiction. And that's cool. But there was a reason why you chose those particular spaces. What are they? Why are they important to you? Why do they matter to you? And remember that you have gifts and talents that you're bringing to the table. It's not just your ability to understand language and understand story. It's also synthesizing information. It's also the ability to communicate that so that the other person can understand and do something with it. You're doing so many other parts. Remember your own strengths, remember your own gifts, and remember why you started your business. And one easy way to remember your gifts is to write out on a sheet of paper all of your successes. It does not matter how many there are. It doesn't matter how big they are or how small they are. Even if it seems inconsequential, write it down. Even if it seems unrelated, write it down. How many of you are parents? You know what? That's project management in a lot of ways. That's something that you as an editor are doing when you have multiple projects going on. Own that as a skill set. You enjoy writing. How many things that have you done to help you get to where you are? That's another way to remember that. Be willing to let go of old beliefs, old services. Maybe you did one service at the time and it served you, but you found it just doesn't light you up like doing this other form of service or this other way. Or maybe you've changed how you particularly do something. Maybe instead of saying, I am going to, when I get a manuscript, I'm going to work on it, and then that's it, I'm only doing email exchanges. Maybe you say, you know what, that doesn't feel like I'm getting enough out of it and I could do something else to delight my writers even more. Maybe I offer a call in conjunction with that service. Maybe I'm offering this other part in conjunction with this, and that lights you up. That's good. Let go of what isn't. And again, are there clothes? Are there styles? Are there styles in your business? Are there things you can shake out even in your physical office space, or looking at your website going, oh, that page doesn't serve me anymore, or that layout, I need that service, but that web design doesn't feel right to me anymore. I want to change that up. Let them go. Let them go with love. Let them go with grace. Thank them for being a part of the journey because they got you where you are. And it's now a new opportunity. And to detach from those outcomes. And this is a big one, because when you go to a speaking engagement, when you go to a podcast interview, anything like that, when you say, I'm going to host a workshop and I'm going to teach how to develop a scene or something like that, and you sell tickets or you have that space, be excited to be there. Remember, you said yes. Why did you say yes? And you might see one person show. You know what? That one person needed to hear your message. And you don't know where that will go. Trust the ripple effect you are going to have with every writer you connect with, every client you connect with, every opportunity you say yes to, because you've said yes to the right ones. And the last one is, if that author has to talk about their book to get more readers, right? Or if a movie star like Tom Cruise has to talk about his movie and his latest stuff, we as editors have to talk about our stuff too, because that's how more people are going to know. And yes, through referral, but it starts with you talking about, hey, I do this and I'm really excited and I really enjoy what I do. This is why it lights me up. That's what's going to bring that attraction in. And that's part of the message, why they want to work with you.
Definitely. This thing about, that lights you up. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. It was Friday evening, 6 p.m. And I got a call from a friend and they're like, what are you up to? And I'm like, well, I'm working on a manuscript. And they're like, it's Friday at 6 p.m. I'm like, yes, but I love this manuscript and I love what I'm doing. And it's not work. It doesn't feel like work at all because it's exciting. So yes, definitely to the things that I think that light us up. And when you share that message with other people and they see like the joy that this kind of work brings you, and your passion for it, I think that's kind of the best advertisement of yourself and your services that you can do. I really liked what you said about letting go of the things that no longer serve us. So starting with clothes, I am definitely outfits that are just not where I am today that I should let go of, and books as well. I was just thinking I could do like a little inventory, I think, of my bookshelf. It's time also to pass those on to better hands and people that could use them. Any other thoughts, Brittany? I see you nodding.
I do. Yeah, I really love that. And I especially like, Jennifer, what you said about detaching from the outcome, because I think that, I know for me personally, that I put a lot of pressure on myself and I have a lot of like perfectionist tendencies and things. And so when you do that and all of that weight and burden of the outcome is with you every step of the process, it really interferes with doing your best work, with doing what you want to do, with making any progress at times. So I really love that, and I wrote it down like twice, detach from the outcome, because I think that that's very freeing, and it's really good advice that we can apply in a lot of different ways in our work, in our business, personally. So I really love that you talked a little bit about that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. One thing, so for instance, when you're working with a client and you're giving them feedback, do you expect them to accept all the changes that you recommend? I mean, as a developmental, right? Me either. I mean, I will write back feedback, to my authors, to my writers, and go, here's some things, right? And I remember one time very distinctly, one client was really cute about it. And he's like, I like 98% of what you said. I said, fantastic. I'm glad you don't like some of it, because it's your book. But the bottom line is their name is on the book. It's not my name. I have my own books. If I wanted my name on a book, I wrote one. It's okay. I'm good. I've got that going on for me. But when I'm serving somebody else, it's their message and it's their story, which also means that I have to detach from that outcome of If you don't accept those changes, if you, the writer, say, I'm not doing that, then that's okay. It's okay that they don't. And it's not a reflection upon my capability, my recommendation. It's just, it's a matter of how did I communicate it in a kind of constructive way? As long as I can say yes to that, and I have the best interest of that person at heart, I'm good. And it's not about me. The same is applying to your business and how you look at the business and how you present your business. It just feels a little different because when you're working with your client, you're focused on serving them. You're focused on promoting them because when they get their book out, you're probably really excited. You probably share it because, hey, you're proud of them. Hey, let's celebrate them. You need to celebrate you too.
Definitely. Jen, so a kind of a conversation we had that's not, it's tied into these three things and about how we put ourselves out there, how we present ourselves. When I was getting ready to go to the ACES conference, we had a consultation call about how to prepare ourselves. What are the things that my biggest fear is going to conferences and forgetting the things that I should be bringing with me that I'm going to need when I'm there. From business cards to like a flash drive with, with my backup presentation to any handouts and super glue for my high heels if they break, which happened to me at IBPA a few years ago. So things like that. But also you brought up like, bring a rack card with a list of all the services that you offer. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So it is called a rack card. And this is usually like 4x9 or 5x9, something like that. And it usually stands up. It's usually on some kind of weighted paper, like not construction paper, but it's got a little heft to it, more like an index card kind of weight. And this is an idea, a takeaway, something somebody can leave with and if you use Canva for part of your business, look up rack cards and you will see templates that you can use. What I would encourage you to do is think about who I serve, how I serve them, like what you get out of the business. What would you put on your website of I help people do XYZ? Something like that goes on that rack card. Also, the services. What specifically do you offer that you want more people to do? It's editing, but specifically what kind of editing? If you do various levels, tell them. If you do one level, tell them. It's all good. Writing them out. If you teach, if you do speaking engagements, put that as a separate line and calling them out so that they kind of make sense of what that is. And then the really important part is, how do they connect with you once they realize, where have you been all my life? I need to talk to you. So then I'm just saying, they're going to figure that out and they're going to need to know that information. So let that piece do that work for you and put it in your colors, put some pictures as appropriately as you can, but make them of you or of your business, something so that there's a connection of, when I see this, I know who this is and this is what we're doing. But I love rack cards. I think they're fantastic.
I'm gonna like step away for a second and go get mine, because after that I did make one. And what I realized that happened when I started giving away the rack cards was I had my services listed and things that I specialize in, that sometimes an author would be working on a different project. Maybe they were writing something that was sci-fi, but then they saw that I did a memoir and I could tell that they wanted to work with me, and they'd be like, well, but I do have like a memoir on the, on the back burner that I've been thinking about that I'm not ready to write. But now that I know that you do that, maybe I'll move towards and try to complete that project as well. So one of the things that I think the rack card does, and I'm not saying that we should all carry rack cards with us, but if you are going to an event and you're going to be at a table, I think having a rack card is a good idea. Listing your services and the specific genres of the work that you love doing should be listed on there, or the types of books that you like working on, because I do think that it opens people's minds to think about you under a different light that they might have not been thinking. So, yes. And it does open, I think, those opportunities.
I love that point, because with that in mind, that writer might say, I have an editor already for this, but I worked with somebody who was like, I worked on this piece, and yes, I worked with somebody for copy, But I realized that when I had other people read it, they were saying that there was more parts that needed to be developed. And I realized only then I needed somebody like you to help me. And I'm like, yeah, but we can still work on something like that. We can come back through and you can do another edition, or it could be another, whatever is right for that person. But when you spell out what that is too, that's also helping them to realize, oh, what is that? Because you might use a phrasing and they go, what is that? Especially if they haven't written a book before, or they're in the process of writing, they don't really want to own that title of writer or author yet, but they're getting there. They might go, oh, I know I need an editor. I didn't know I need, what does a line editor do? How do you do that? What is that? How does that differ? So you can educate them. It gives you a way to educate too.
Yeah.
And it's not about, the other thing is that it's not about forcing them, so to speak, to make a decision. What you're really, or rather saying, work with me, what you're doing is you're giving them information so they can make educated decisions, healthy decisions for themselves, which is a good thing for you because you want the right people to come to you. And if they got that information and they said, great, this is cool, but this doesn't fit me, whatever the reason, good. Because that means that the right people are going to find you. That means you gave the right information effectively so that the right people will find you.
Oh my God. And that, I love that because that ties into what was happened to me a couple of times, which was like attracting the wrong kind of client because of the information that I was giving out, or the information I should have been giving out that I wasn't giving out. So yes, for sure. I think sometimes weeding out the type of clients that we want to work for with the information that we're giving out is really important. We are at the 9:31 mark. Does anybody have any questions for Jennifer? Feel free to unmute yourselves or raise your hand with a little Zoom thingy.
Linda, I just wanted to say really quick, one of the other things that I like, even Jennifer, with how you refer to it as a rack card, and I've worked a long time ago, I worked on developing rack cards for a business I work for, but I love that it reframes how we think of putting this information out there. It's not an advertising piece, it's not a sales piece. No, it is. So basically, it's something you would put on a rack for information, right? It's an informational piece. And so it's, educating, it's providing information. And that really, whenever we make that kind of mental switch to where, and you said this in another presentation I heard you give, when we make that switch to helping other people by providing information, it unlocks so much in terms of giving us the freedom to write and to express the things and give the information, but it also changes how people receive it because it's been framed differently, and we don't push these expectations onto people like, we want you to do this for us. No, it's like, we want to give to you, and then you will be better equipped to do what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm going to show you my rack card. So this came with the new book cover that I have. And it tells, it talks about what kind of things I would do with writers. So like, hosting book study groups, guided discussions, things like that. And then on the back, I put the other book that we have with Brittany with our networking studio info, a little picture. And then I wrote, and I totally stole this idea from someone else that I saw at the Festival of Books in LA. I made it my own though, and it was 10 things you don't know about me. And this gives you a little glimpse into things that I like to do, or something about me that's not too personal that would compromise, my safety or my security or anything, but that they make them 10 relatable points that maybe of things that we might have in common. And it's worked really well so far. So I wasn't doing rack cards, but now a rack card seems like something I definitely want to include and do my little visibility package.
And to add to that, the thing is Brittany, you had mentioned earlier about perfectionism, and it's kind of like the recovering valedictorian idea. I've got to get it right. It has to be 100%. And we can put that pressure on us, especially if you're in the details of an editing project, right? It can be easy to get there, but A, you're human. B, the beauty of so much of this is create something, in this case, the rack card or what have you, that you feel really excited about. You want to have it out. You're excited about this. And then put it out, see how it goes, see what works. You might come back to it and realize, I really love that design. Next time, when I run out of this space, I'm going to change out some of the colors because I think I like this. Or the picture looked bigger when I did it online, and now it's not looking exactly the way I want it. That is the beauty of this. But the fact that you are putting yourself out there, that is what's important. You are also modeling for your writers what you really want them to be doing too. Because once their book is out of your hands and their hands and into the world and published, you want them to talk about it. So you are also modeling and setting the example of saying, this is how you run your business. You show up, you own the services, writer, you have this book as a product you're selling, and writer, you also might have other services you're offering off of it, like speaking, like courses, what have you, other books that you might want to work back with me on to continue along this journey. But you're asking them to do that too. So you're modeling.
Yeah. And so here's something that what I liked about your book. So it's a really easy book. It's lightweight. It's not that expensive. And I say this why? Because as someone who does a lot of author coaching, or I see some of my clients all the way through their whole self-publishing journey, I love to give this as a present at the end, like a surprise gift, because then it gives them, first of all, it means I've been thinking about them, and thank you for hiring me to do the work. It's a tiny, tiny fraction of what they paid me to do the work. And then it sends them off into the publishing world and the promotion world prepared with specific tools and things they can do and they can follow. Jennifer has a lot of checklists in the book that they can check off about things that they should be doing. So I feel it sets them off on a more prepared path for what comes next, that I'm not going to be part of that journey, but here's someone, here's a book that's going to help you through that. And that follow through with clients, I think, is tremendous. And again, sometimes we forget about the cost of return business, and doing little gestures like that stuff, sending a client, something that's not going to break the bank, that's going to empower them to be able to sell their book and prepare them, I think is absolutely priceless and sets you apart as an editor from other editors as well.
You've spoken love language to me, because first off, thank you for including my book. But what's the love language part in particular is the idea of surprising and delighting your clients. I love doing that in my business all the time. And what it can be something as simple as, sometimes I'll send them a Starbucks gift card. I'm like, now that you have your edits, my love, go get caffeinated and start working on them. Sometimes it's a little, or here's a card for go get some, Barnes & Noble, just a little something to say, I'm thinking about you. I send them this book too, whether or not they are my editing client or a client that I'm working with in another capacity, because surprising and delighting is definitely a term I use. I love that. And it is a way of saying, I see you, I care about you. And it also is reinforcing the connection that you have created with them. You've built a relationship, and it shows that you want to see them to be successful, whatever that surprise and delight is.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's so important too, when you're working, especially with writers, because quite often people who are writing may not have, especially in the early stages, they may not have built up a network or a community around them that supports them in what they're doing. So sometimes you, as the editor, you're the only person who kind of like is in their corner, who's believing in them, who's their cheerleader, as well as being, providing these professional services. And so I really do think that that's so valuable, because it lets them know that, like you said, you see them, you're thinking of them, not just as a person, but as, an author, as a writer. And yeah, I've done the same. I had one client that she had, she would joke about her writing process and her journey. And I think she said something that, like, sometimes she just felt like a little baby elephant. I know that sounds kind of odd, So I found on Etsy, I found this little handmade mug, and it was of a little baby elephant with like a balloon, like a happy balloon. So when she finished her first draft, I sent her this little mug, and I'm like, okay, but the baby, you did it. You accomplished the thing. So even if you are
Yes.
the baby elephant, like you got your balloon. And it was just like just those little, I know it sounds weird, but like she loved it. And it made me happy to do it because it was kind of commemorating this like milestone for her in her journey. So yeah, I
Yes.
just
To
love
me,
those
that's not
ideas.
weird to me at all. I love that because it also showed you paid attention. It showed you paid attention to her and her comment, and it resonated, and it showed that you were listening. And to your point, sometimes you might be that very first person that writer has said, I have this manuscript. Would you look at it? Would you read it? That's brave. That is very brave. And it might have been very scary for them. And it might have been also something where even if you weren't the first, maybe they had been working through critique groups, or maybe they shared with somebody, and maybe those somebodies weren't kind, or weren't considerate, or weren't constructive. And it
Oh, we hear
really
that
hurt
all the
them.
time.
I
Yeah,
do
that we hear
too.
that all the
I
time.
do too. And so not only do
Yeah.
I see that, I look at that and recognize the courage and the bravery that person has to not just write, but to share. So to reinforce that in some way, because you paid attention,
Mhm.
shows not only that you care, but you care about your business too. Because what you're also doing by every time you plant those seeds, I'm big into planting seeds too, analogies, but every time you're planting more seeds, and those seeds are going to germinate, and the right ones will really take off, because what you're doing is you're building another form of referral, another form of community, and other people looking at your business because of how you are handling it, how you are elevating it, and how you are communicating your work, your message. And they're saying, I need to be in her world or his world, and I'm okay with the wait list because you're the person I really need.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm going to bring it back to that the business side of it. So Jennifer's book is $13.95. You can tack on $15 to your next project, and nobody's going to blink an eye, and consider factoring that, because a lot of times and I don't want to say that editors, we tend to be cheap. We tend to be, I think, we're very budget conscious, and for some bizarre reason we tend to think that every author is going to flinch at whatever proposal we send them, as if it's not, and we're charging too much, and we never are. I think we're pretty fair, actually, but we will question what we're charging most of the time. And if you think about it, add another 15-20 bucks for that Starbucks gift card, for that special mug that Brittany was talking about, for Jennifer's book. It's not going to break the bank for anyone. You're going to look like a rock star, even though Brittany doesn't like me saying that because, but yeah, you're going to look great, and it's going to set you apart as an editor, and it's going to just really bring that repeat business in the future as well. So these are little details that we don't talk about so much in editing circles, and we don't learn it when we get these editing certificates, or we don't learn it in college when we're getting degrees. So this is another really great tip, I feel, for building your business and that visibility that we're trying to create, and setting you apart as an editor.
You
So
are an entrepreneur. And that's really how I
yeah.
look at that, because here's the thing too, if I just may speak about the pricing point there.
Yes.
I get that we want to be conscientious of that. And especially when you know that if you do one type of editing, like in my case, I tell writers all the time, I'm not looking at your commas right now. I'm way more interested in your structure, and more than likely you're going to rewrite a lot of this stuff. So I'm not interested. I am not going to go through and tackle those. I want you to go hire somebody else to do that, because you need more eyes, you'll gain more courage, you'll get a better story. But that is a money thing. But that is also not my money decision to be making. That is on the writer, for the writer to figure out, and I'm trusting that writer is a healthy individual who will figure out what is right by them. But I need to honor what is right by me, and the services and the time that I'm spending, because by saying yes to that writer, I'm saying no to something else. So trusting that when I offer this is the fee, this is how much this project will be, this is the duration that I can do this project, I know I'm bringing my best self and I'm going to deliver. I'm going to do my best with that project. I'll probably over deliver. But I also know that if I undervalue myself, I don't want to plant that seed. And I also don't want the writer to come away with that, because the writer needs to own it too. They need to own that space too for themselves. So trust, that goes back to trusting yourself. Trust yourself, trust what you're doing, trust the expertise that you have.
Absolutely. So I think we're at 9:44. I'm gonna have to leave you guys for another appointment that I have, but Brittany's continuing the conversation and with the Q&A. So I will let you all go. Jennifer, thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
I will catch up with everyone after the meeting when I watch the replay again. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think, Jennifer, are you okay to stay for
Yeah.
another 5 minutes if we
Yeah.
have? Okay, so I'll just
I'm happy
open it
to.
up. Okay, thank you so much. Like, this has been so good. I loved the last presentation by you that I attended, so I was really excited when
Thank
Linda said
you.
that you had agreed to do this with us.
I was so excited you asked. I think this is fantastic. It's fun to me because I genuinely believe that we really are the right people to tell whatever story, whatever message you have. There's only one you. And
Right.
if you don't share it, who will? You know, you are the right person.
And I love that everything that you've talked about today and have recommended to us, it's stuff that you are modeling as well, because your energy,
Thanks.
your enthusiasm for what you're doing comes through. So it's
Thank
really,
you.
it's like full circle. So I very much appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's see, I'll just open it up. Anyone, if you want to raise your hand or just unsilence yourself, if we have any questions or particular thoughts, or we're being shy is okay too. I'm shy. All right. Well, it sounds like everyone is still, our minds are full of all the things that you've told us, and we're still processing.
That's
So
fair.
I think that Linda put your contact information in the chat. Let me just go scroll up to the top. Yeah, your yep, all of your contact information is here. So I would say if anyone wants to follow up with you, if they're interested. Oh, we have okay. Tanya has a question.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, for some reason I couldn't find the raise hand button. It was not showing up. Yeah, I just had a question. I'm still a fairly new editor. I want to get business cards, but should I put my cell phone number on my business card or just my website?
I personally don't. If you want people to call you on your cell, that's your prerogative, you know, and there are ways you can get phone numbers, like I think through Google Voice, and you can buy a phone number and use that phone number and run that through to your phone if you want to put a phone number. I don't. I say, come through my website. If there's contact forms on my site. There are ways to book Zoom calls on my site. So I would much prefer to do that. And, I use what another service that I do in my business is asynchronous support. So also known as Voxer. So I use Voxer a lot for my clients, both editing and consulting, coaching, and that's another way, but you don't need the phone number to do it. But I would put your website.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And thanks for being here.
Thank you, Tanya. Yeah, and I would agree with that. When I was first starting out, I think I did have my phone number on my business cards and even on my email signature. I always joke that changes that we make to our contract and other things like that always come about because of our experiences with clients and things. And so that is one thing I've stopped making my phone number quite as available because and Linda will tell you the same thing. Like, I just don't enjoy being texted like on a Sunday morning randomly and things like that. And you never know what people's ideas. We all have different expectations of boundaries and things like that. And so And I know, especially when you're starting out, the feeling is, oh, I want people to be able to contact me any way they have to, or any way they can. But no, I think it's a good exercise to start protecting and kind of establishing those boundaries and expectations early on, because that way that will really, I think, put you in a better position as you grow your business, and it will set you up for like longer term success and less chance of burnout and these kinds of things.
Absolutely. It will also feel like, even if you see the email come through, if you are also telling yourself, yes, I saw that at 6 o'clock this morning. And yes, I probably could respond at 6:05 this morning. But instead, you know what? I need a moment. I need some time to get centered. I need a moment to do something for me before I start contributing to everybody else. I'm going to use my little cup at this moment that is not so little, but it's got water in it. But if you didn't take care of you and fill this and drink this for you, if you're going to be pouring from an empty, nobody's going to benefit from that, and you won't either. You need to take care of you and then do that. And then when you do respond to that email at 8 or at 9 or whatever, and you go, that feels better. It's more thoughtful. It feels intentional, and it's still timely. It's still very timely, but you did it in a way that was honoring you.
Perfect.
Kristen, I thought I saw that you had something.
Yes, I do too.
Awesome.
I'm loving this, Jen, because
I'm so glad.
your
Thank
philosophy
you.
around your business is completely aligned with my philosophy around my business. Real quick, I will add about the phone thing. If I have clients who insist on talking, I say I can set you up with a Zoom link and we don't have to be on camera if you really want to talk to me. Because yeah, no, I don't. I have one client who insisted on a phone thing and I trusted her, but yeah, I'm getting those texts when she's good. She's good. She's a great client, but I'm like, never again.
But another thing could be Voxer. Another thing you
Yeah.
could do is say, get a Voxer account and limit the window to say
Mhm.
you have Voxer access for 7 days or for 30 days, or once you get the manuscript from me, you have Voxer access for the next 4 weeks, and I wouldn't use weeks, I'd use days. So 120 days, 30 days, pick a thing. And it's like walkie-talkie. It's like, press the button. Hey, I'm talking to you right now. Okay, great. And then I can hear your message just like you left me a voicemail or Zoom without the video. And then again, you can thoughtfully respond when you're ready. I love Voxer. That is so in my business. I'm just saying it's an option.
So check that out. My question is, in terms of visibility outside of those conference spaces, outside of the spaces where we're preparing ourselves to present ourselves, I am shameless about talking about what I do, because I have found clients in surprising places and some not so surprising places. We had a bookstore open a few years ago here in close to my neighborhood, and I went in, I introduced myself, and I just started chatting, and I mentioned that I'm an editor. And they're like, one of the owners, she teaches writing at the local university. And she says, oh, I'm getting out of freelancing. Do you have a card? I gave her my card. I've gotten 3 jobs over the years from them. And in fact, she just contacted me the other day. So, I mean, yeah, bookstore seems expected, but I was there as a customer, and I'm always very careful about not being a sales pitchy type of person, but I'll just be like, I was at a Ren fair and I was
love it.
chatting with one of the performers, and
Yes.
he does a Shakespeare bit. So he, obviously he does some writing, but it turns out he's working on a book project. And so even if I'm not the person for him, I can put him in touch with people who I know would work well with him. So anyway, those are just a couple of examples. And I wanted to know what your take is on that and how to approach that.
Okay, so I am an introvert. And so the idea of, say, fellow introverts, I see you, I feel you. And so speaking on a stage, you're right. There is a sense that I will protect my energy, my space beforehand and after. So I have plenty of time to get in the right space and the decompression, and for however long it is, for whatever that thing is. But here's what I would say. instead of viewing it as selling and thinking like every time you mention what you do or how you help people or whatever, it's selling and oh, that feels icky. Instead, you are sharing something you're joyful and you're excited about. You're joyful about writing or about books or about editing. You are excited about watching people see their story and watching that writer's eyes light up when they realize somebody else saw potential in them too, because that's also what you're doing. So, when somebody says, hey, what do you do? It's maybe you create a clever way of saying it too. Like, off the top of my head, I'm not coming up with something at this moment, but a lot of times what I will say is, what do you do? First off, a lot of times I say, I run my own business. I don't tell you the occupation element of it. I say I run my own business because that first and foremost is what I do. And then they say, oh, really? What kind of business? Oh, I'm a consultant and author stylist, but I said, but I'm a developmental editor, a podcast host, and I'm a writer myself. Really? What does that mean? I've just answered questions. And so when you look at it where you're answering a question, it's a form of, Seth Godin likes to call it permission marketing. So would you like, if I say, as a side note, if you ever have a children's writer who asks you ways to how to promote their book, I had children's books when I first started, I would take my little bookmarks and it was about my 2 tuxedo kitties, and I would dress up as a little black cat for Halloween, and I'm telling you, rocking it out. And I would have my chocolate, and because I believe chocolate and books and tea, they're my love languages, peppermint patties in particular. I am a connoisseur. And I would have chocolate, I would have bookmarks, and little ones would come up, and I would say, do you like to read? Yes. Would you like a bookmark? Yes. All I did was ask a question. They said yes. That was a permission marketing. I asked if they said no, I said, peace. That's okay. Do you want chocolate? Because help yourself. I mean, that was always a part of it. But the fact that it was yes, that was asking for more information. So that's another part of you're engaging in a conversation. You are talking about what you love. Wouldn't you want to hear from somebody else what they love too? You watch their face light up and you feel excited about them. So show that joy, and that's going to come through too, because you never know, that person you're talking to might not be the writer. They know one. One of my clients came from my grocery store. Why? Because I would chit chat with her in the line as I'm checking out. And she's like, Jen, I got to tell you, I'm working on this manuscript. And I was like, continue. I want to hear about your story. I'm not trying to sell myself. I want you comfortable talking about your story because you're going to have to do that a lot. So when you can talk to me about it, just talk to me about it. That's cool. That also, you're sizing up. Is this a project you would want to do? But you're helping them because you're doing that. So you're helping yourself when you talk about what you love. I'm just
I love that. I absolutely love that approach, and I love how you explained it. It just makes it like, because it really is like you said, and that's one of the things that we've talked about too, is when you're talking about things that you're excited about, that you love. Like, I think that is one of the best ways to kind of short circuit social anxiety and other things like that, and to really give you that space to talk and to just be yourself. And that's when you can make really good connections, is when you're being, your real self. So,
and the other side to that is, I'm sorry, Brittany, but the other
go
side to
ahead.
that is that if for some reason that perhaps you realize that there isn't that connection, or you recognize that's repelling, if you will, the other person, that's okay. You know what? Because they probably weren't going to be the right client anyway. And
Right.
you've cleared that air really quickly, but wish them peace, wish them well. Maybe you realize, so I don't edit this genre, whatever said genre is in there, but you might know somebody who does. And if there's at least enough of a connection, and it's more of the, oh, that's not the project, but you think that would be a really cool person to work with, so you recommend somebody else for them to check out. That's okay. There's some love here. Thanks, Angie, for being here.
Well, and I know we've almost come to the hour. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for spending so much time with us and really taking that time. I think I really enjoyed it. I think everyone has. And, I put your information on there. So if anyone has questions or wants to reach out or is interested in Jennifer's book, the information is there. But no, I think that we're good. It was so exciting to get to talk to you in person. And we really love what you had to say. So thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, and Linda, for having me and for asking. I'm really honored, but thank you all for being here. This has been so much fun with you, and I sincerely hope that it has helped you.
Definitely. All right, everybody, I'll let you get back to your day, but everyone have a good day and a good rest of your week. And thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.